So just focus our thoughts. We tend to have thoughts that we just think are allowed to run berserk all day, but actually we can learn to have control over them and add new thoughts. We can have positive thoughts. We can actually decide to think things, kind of like it sounds a surprise to us. So let's think some positive thoughts, because every thought counts, so the seed. So first think, I'm still alive. And the reason, from the Buddhist point of view, is because I've got still in my, in my gas tank, in my petrol tank, morality, karma. The energy of virtue has still existed. The energy of my past virtue existing within my mind stream is what keeps me alive. Health, food we eat, external conditions, youth, or age, these are just the external, secondary causes. The main cause is past karma, past virtue. Everything's this way. So think how amazing that I'm still alive. I haven't dropped dead yet. Breath is still going in and out. Don't take it for granted. The immensity of the virtue we must have practiced just to be who we are. This is the Buddha's view. We're not some gift from the universe. The Creator didn't make us. We're not some accident. We're not a random event. Mummy and Daddy aren't the cause. They're the catalysts. I'm the main cause in my past virtue in my mind. So how amazing. Don't want to waste it. How precious. Like money in the bank. It's the result of your hard work. We are the result of our own hard work. How tragic to waste it. That's why I'm here, to listen, think, analyse, meditate. Buddha's views about the universe, to see if there are tools I can use to help me develop my amazing potential from Buddha's point of view. For my own sake, clearly, but also because we live in this world interdependently with others, for others' sake, finally. That's why I'm here. So now, let's do a different kind of meditation. It's from the Vajrayana, from Tantra. It still includes concentration. It still includes insight, but it's using. It's different. It's not using it's using the mind, using thoughts, but we're imagining. We're imagining. So here they call it visualization. It just means imagining. We do it all day. We are thinking things and imagining things all day. We think about the person we don't like. That's visualization. We think about the person we adore. That's visualization. We think about the chocolate cake at the cafe. That's visualization. We're doing it all the time. So here they use this skill of the mind to help us develop familiarity with enlightened beings and their potential, their qualities, because that's the potential that we're trying to cultivate. So it's one of the methods for cultivating that part of ourselves. So there's two ways Buddha manifests. In a human body, like Shakyamuni, who looks like us and talks like us to help us. The other form is the more subtle form, subtle light body, that the Arya Bodhisattvas, the great Bodhisattvas who've realized emptiness. They can see in with their subtle mind in their meditation. Buddha's manifest in this subtle light body. And these are the forms you see in all the different pictures, the statues and things. Which of course maybe for Jewish people, if you've been religious, it's kind of weird. But it's whatever. So here we're going to imagine Tara. There's three essential qualities of an enlightened being. Wisdom, and this is manifested, represented by the Buddha called Manjushri, Manju. It's like a visual language. It's psychology, it's all the mind. And so Manjushri, this image, coming from India, of course, from the culture, everything he's holding, it's like a visual language. The sword represents, he's got a sword cutting through ignorance. Instead of a word, there's an image. Tara, Chenrezig, is the manifestation of compassion. Wisdom, compassion, the two wings. But there's a third quality. They call it power. So you've got to have the compassion to want to help, the wisdom to know how, but the ability, the power to do so. Power. That's represented, one of the Buddhas is called Tara. In Tibetan, her name is Joma, and it means liberator. She's known often as the liberator from the fears of samsara. She represents power, action, success, courage, cutting through the obstacles, making things happen. These are psychological qualities we all desperately need. She represents that. So, if you're familiar with these meditations, fine. If not, just relax and do what you can with it. If you don't like it, then do something else. It doesn't matter. So imagining in front of us this manifestation of these qualities, and so it's like a mirror image of the potential we're trying to accomplish. If you want to play tennis and you're really into it and you love Federer, you're going to have a picture of Federer. You're going to watch Federer on the television. You're going to replicate his moves. You're going to, people can tell that you looked at Federer by the way you play tennis. That's visualization. You're using this as your guide. Same here. So clearly we've got to buy into the fact, into the idea that she represents these qualities. We can do that if we want to. So imagine this green light body, a subtle body, very blissful, very radiant. We'll talk about Vajrayana today, the meaning of it psychologically and philosophically. In these practices, we're trying to lift the heart, lift the mind, make ourselves more joyous, more radiant, more light, more optimistic. They talk about these meditations as bringing the future result into the present. It's like you're sitting there, you're imagining you're winning Wimbledon. You visualize it, you imagine clearly. That's these types of meditation are like that. And because every thought counts, it's a cause to become like that. That's the point. So imagine the energy of the enlightened mind, completely all-knowing, all-compassionate, all-wise, all powerful, all these qualities which are our own potential, the potential of our consciousness, our mind itself, to be perfected in goodness and rid of the rubbish. So in this case, this enlightened energy, our own potential, manifests in this form, this green light body, female, gorgeous, everything's radiant, made of light. She's sitting on a multicolored lotus. On that lotus, she's sitting on a moon disk and a sun disk. These represent wisdom and compassion. Just imagine. Just imagine. Can't see it, don't worry, just think it. Everything's radiant light, about an eye level. If you've got a spiritual teacher, in Sanskrit a guru, in Tibetan lama, spiritual teacher, a person you've chosen to be the one that you relate to, whom you use to help you become a Buddha, and you think it's their mind, their consciousness, manifesting in this form to help us. That's their job. If you're familiar with these images, you'll know she's holding in, she's sitting, her left leg is drawn in, like in meditation, but her right leg is resting on another little multicolored lotus in this very casual kind of pose. Really, so it's the action pose as opposed to the meditation. She's ready to hop up to help sentient beings, to act. In her right hand, she's holding the stem of a blue upala flower that blooms at her right ear, and her right hand is on her right knee, with the palm pointing up, resting on her knee, holding the flower. And the palm pointing up is the mudra, or gesture, of like giving, giving good things, giving, Her left hand at her heart, the fingers pointing up, in the mudra, or the gesture of the three jewels, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. And she's holding the stem of another blue flower that blooms at her left ear. Should lift the mind. She's totally gorgeous to look at. Energize your mind. Everything's radiant, beautiful. And again, think it's like a mirror image of your potential. Okay, if we're not a girl, we think that's peculiar, but no, don't worry about girl, boy, We've all got both qualities. She represents the quality we all need. Power, action, success, courage, effortless courage to cut through We need this. So now you imagine, from her brow, she says powerful beams of white light, laser-like beams, that enter our brow and completely fill us, totally fill us. And we imagine what this does is completely purify, eradicate all the misery of this ridiculous body, the sickness, the pain, inability to do what we really want, the heaviness. And all the, think, imagine also, all the imprints of all the harm we've ever done to any sentient being since beginningless time with our bodies. All of this instantly eradicated by this blissful laser light, white light filling us. Imagine this, want this. Again from her brow, she sends these powerful laser beams of white light that enter our brow, penetrate and fill us completely. This time, with this potential to be of benefit to sentient beings. Whoever sees me, hears me, touches me, smells me, tastes me, they're naturally benefited. Not possible to harm them. And not to mention, of course, in the future, our ability to manifest in different bodies to be of benefit to others. Only to benefit. We don't need a body. It's for the sake of others. For this powerful white light. This potential to be of benefit. And now from her throat, she very compassionately sends these radiant beams of red light that penetrate our throat and fill us completely. This time, eradicating all the nonsense of our speech and all the imprints since beginningless time of the harm we've done to sentient beings with our speech. And this is mostly humans, Dogs and animals don't have too much language. We make a bit of noises, but we're pretty good with our speech. And lots of nonsense, all the lying, all the abusive speech, all the bad mouthing people behind their backs. One of our favourite activities, one of the worst ones. And all the rabbiting on about nothing, whether the person wants to listen or not, we don't care. Out the words come of the mouth, just meaningless stuff. All this we think is so meaning. We think it has no meaning, All the harm we've ever done to sentient beings in this way. And also our own inability to express ourselves clearly, our frustration with our lack of clarity with our speech, for example. All of this totally purified, eradicated by this radiant red light filling us. And now again, Lamatara, Gurutara, Buddhatara sends radiant beams of red light, again from her throat, penetrating ours and filling us this time with what else? Our extraordinary potential. They call it the power of speech. By practicing in the mind, by purifying our own, subtle physical energies, including the breath, by speech that's virtuous and appropriate and beneficial, we purify. We even our body, even our speech can be so powerful to others, and we can even use our breath to heal, because we purified our mind and our body because of the relationship between them. But the power of speech, this is the main gift of the Buddha. A Buddha does not need a body. The only reason they have a physical form, and therefore speech, is to benefit sentient beings. So our speech is the main way to benefit others, giving them the advice that they need to help them transform themselves. That's the most powerful gift. So imagine now full of this marvellous potential, such that any sound we utter, even our laugh, even saying good morning, is beneficial to whoever hears it. Not to mention wise advice coming from wise, compassionate advice, full of this marvellous potential, the power of speech. Red light. So this time, Lamatara sends radiant beams of blue light, blue like the sky, from her heart in the centre of her chest. And these beams penetrate our heart and fill us completely. This time purifying the source of all the problems, this ridiculous mind of ours. The ego grasping, which totally believes in the definite, real, separate, concrete, fixed in stone me, which then gives rise to this bottomless pit of emotional hunger and neediness and panic-stricken attachment. Neediness, expectation, possessiveness, dissatisfaction, craving, manipulating, that's attachment, which then gives rise to frustration and despair and panic and anger and anxiety and frustration and upset and depression when it doesn't get what it wants, or when it gets what it doesn't want, which is 1,000 times a day. Ignorance, attachment, aversion, and all the other dramas, the jealousy, the arrogance, the low self-esteem, all the nonsense. All of this instantly eradicated by this blissful blue light filling us. Again, Lamatara sends these radiant beams from her heart, blue light. They penetrate our heart and fill us completely, this time with our potential. The delusions are adventitious, Buddha says. He has found that. They're not at the core of our being because they're misconceptions and can be eradicated because they're not true. They can be argued with these positive states of mind that are at the core of our being, which do define us. Wisdom that sees things as they are, infinite empathy, kindness, generosity, patience, and all these qualities, and joy and bliss. These are our natural state. When the mind is unencumbered by the nonsense, The mind is naturally blissful, naturally. Full of all this, our own marvellous potential, this marvellous blue light. So we can now think that we've removed all the obstacles to our own liberation, but now we have still more subtle imprints left to remove the obstacles to even our own omniscience, our own Buddhahood. So one more time, Mahamudra sends, but these lights all together, white to the brow, red to the throat, blue to the heart, removing even the subtlest imprints, all these delusions, and then manifesting our own natural potential for perfection, Buddhahood, enlightened mind, perfect wisdom, perfect compassion, perfect power, our natural potential. Imagine this. And now imagine that the lotus that Tara is sitting on and the one that her right foot is resting on, they just dissolve into light up into her body. And then she comes very happily over to us and sits above our crown, facing the same way as us. Imagine. And then she very happily dissolves into green light and sinks, absorbs in through our crown. And then this energy of Tara, and the Buddha, the energy of her body, speech and mind, the energy of our Lama's body, speech and mind, merges with ours. Our body, speech, mind, Buddha's body, speech, mind, Tara's body, speech, mind, Lama's body, speech, mind, same. Imagine, completely full of all of this. My true nature. And now imagine just as vast as space, clear, vast, blissful, no thoughts. So now a couple of minutes of just focusing on that clarity. Imagine it's clear, vast, blissful, radiant consciousness, awareness, no thoughts, no turbulence. Just focus on that. As vast as space, limitless, blissful. Now, think, well, I'm the Buddha, that's great for me, but what about poor old sentient beings? All these countless lifetimes of hard work is the only reason I've done this, is so I can be of benefit. So I must manifest in bodies, because we can't communicate with pure, unmanifest, perfect energy. To help others. So now imagine all the sentient beings in the three groups. There's enemies, friends and strangers. There's no fourth category. There are those we can't stand, there are those we adore, and all the rest we couldn't care less about. They could all drop dead. Friends, enemies, strangers. So imagine them all in front. So first of all, in front, all the meanies, all the unkind ones, all the ones you have aversion for, even the person at work who just irritates you. Not to mention the person who's been really mean, the husband who rejected you, the mother who you can't stand. In front, so-called enemies, we might have used that word, but the ones we have aversion for, usually that means they've harmed us. Right in front of you. Imagine them. And then to the left, all your beloveds, the objects of your attachment. To the left, in front of you. And now everybody else. All the beings of all the realms, but in the form of humans, which is the form they can get enlightened in. So all to the right, and then above, below, to the sides, behind, and in front, as far as you can imagine, filling space. Trillions and trillions of all these beings. They're strangers, the objects of our indifference. So the enemies are those who've harmed us, for whom we have aversion. The friends are those who've been kind to us, for whom we have attachment. The strangers who've done neither, so we couldn't care less. Indifference. Imagine them all. So now think.